Hello everyone, and welcome back to coverage of Grand Prix São Paulo. I'm Caillou, and today we're going to be commentating the round 1 match between AmbroseWinters, who's playing green-white Stompy, and Plipster, who's playing Thu'um. So Thu'um is a deck that's going to be legal only for one more month. It's centered around the titular mechanic, and essentially it's just that you aim to mill a bunch of dragons, which cheapens them, free cast a bunch of Dwemer Maid Dovas, or cheap cast a bunch of your Thu'um spells, and go to town. It's a deck that's very vulnerable to Grave Hate, but if you don't disrupt it, it can really just run a train on you. That's also the reason it's playing Oracle's Vision, because it likes to get stuff into grave. You've milled a Dwemer Maid Dova, which is nice. Beneath the Zidina, I don't think does much in the main board. I don't know that. Does AmbroseWinters have a Sacrificial Bull main? They do not. They have their Grave Hate in the side. So, but still, are going to be able to curve this ever-gnawing rat into a Fog Spewer, and then swing for 2. Ever-gnawing rat, of course, somewhat the pelt collector of this format, and is really just kind of a staple for these aggressive decks. And yeah, Plipster is really just going to be taxed out of playing any non-creature spells, because it's going to be Fog Spewer into Lone Survivor. They're probably going to be, they're going to play the Profane Emissary and then use its ability to tutor up Polypools, which is a tribal land with Changeling. So you tutor it up for free in your draw step, and then you play it. Turns Profane Emissary into a 4/4 lifelinker. Very good at holding down the board while you're setting up. Which I think, again, would normally be a problem because you can't really attack into it once that's happened, except Lone Survivor cleanly outpaces it. It allows you to just attack over, and when Profane Emissary attacks back, you can essentially just block. You can kill it on the block, and then continue with your beatdown game plan. But also, I just realized I've been talking a lot about Lone Survivor, but Ambrose missed the 3rd land drop, so it's actually just going to go Unlikeliest Heroes, Lily Reed Triton. Yeah, I think you Lily Reed Triton on the Fog Spewer, because that naturally pumps up the Ever-Gnawing Rat. Yeah. So next turn, Ever-Gnawing Rat's ability will proc, because Fog Spewer has 3 power. Also, Crewmaster Gillo's ability to just come down next turn and give everything an overrun effect means that Fog Spewer and Ever-Gnawing Rat can attack through the Profane Emissary, which is not going to be a good time for Plipster. Other than that, Plipster can only cast his Draconic Divulging out of all the cards in his hand. Or wait, no, actually, Dwemer Maid Dova. Never mind. Yeah, Dwemer Maid... actually, wait, no, Draconic Divulging... Yeah, okay, it's actually cheapened, so can cast it, even though it's cheapened by 1 because of the... Oh, also it's cheapened by 2, because Polypools plus Dwemer Maid Dova, and then it's taxed by 1 by the Fog Spewer. So yeah, exactly 3 mana. So I'm going to swinging with the Profane Emissary actually opens up Plipster to a world of hurt here. Oh wait, no, can free cast double Dwemer Maid Dova. That explains it. Yeah, so Dwemer Maid Dova is kind of just the nutty central piece of this deck, because it turns out if you have a Frogmite that also is a 4/4 and has flying, things get out of control very quickly. Yep, okay, so gonna play a Crewmaster Gillo, and then draw Merciful Eurota. I think Ambrose's deck is really just made to take full advantage of Crewmaster Gillo, because Ambrose has no cards that are not creatures or lands, so you're always drawing off of Crewmaster Gillo, or drawing or ramping. Ambrose not attacking with the rat? Am I missing something? And I feel like if you want to attack with one of them, you want to... I guess it's because Fog Spewer is unblockable, but I think you're fine trading a rat for a Dova, especially since Dova is putting you on a very scary clock in the air. So yeah, Plipster just going to swing for the hills, and the reason for this is, yeah, okay, Ever-Gnawing Rat is going to try and eat the Profane Emissary, but Plipster can now kill it with Dova's Ire. And if Ambrose had chosen not to block with anything, Plip would have just killed them with Dova's Ire right here. So, main 2, Pip is going to run out another Oracle's Vision, kind of just serving as more ramp, really. Diving Dova is now well within casting cost, so can run that out next turn. And so Ambrose is very dead if they don't kill here, is essentially what it comes down to. And yeah, Ambrose just didn't have the kill there. I think Ambrose had lots of good early pressure, but then they got they got stymied on lands, and then I think it's hard for any creature-based deck to beat Profane Emissary backed up by 2 free 4/4s. And yeah, Profane Emissary I think is really it's weird because because Thu'um is a very focused deck otherwise, right? It's like it has this central named mechanic around which everything else revolves. Profane Emissary doesn't quite fit that mold, um, but what makes it really strong is the fact that it gives you early board presence. It allows you to hit your land drops, and it's drawing a soul land effectively because of how Thu'um works. So it's just generally quite strong. It really shores up lots of the deck's weaknesses in a very effective way. Speaking of effective, let's see what effective choices these players can make out of the side. So for Ambrose, I think you bring in Leisha's Greenblade to be able to kill Dwemer Maid Dovas. You bring in Sacrificial Bulls to be able to kill Cards Engrave. Bessie's Brood is not for this matchup because all of Plipster's creatures outsize it. Maybe Ethereum Abrogator if you're scared of like the ETB triggers of the dragons, but I think that isn't really what makes them scary. Priestess of Simplicity could do a lot of damage because it is a 3-color deck, but I think it depends on how Ambrose evaluates. But I think that Leisha's and Sacrificial Bull are easy shoo-ins. Meanwhile, on Plipster's end, you really want the Violent Collapses here because of basically Ambrose's entire deck is creatures, and if you wipe them once, they basically just lose. Twilight Ambush, I think, is similarly a good stopgap for that reason. And I think that if you could bring in Tempt Reason, but I think that might be a little bit overboarding. I think because of how linear the deck is, I think you just want to Twilight Ambush, Violent Collapse, call it a day. And probably take out, like, I think Winged Descent is a little expensive in this matchup, so you probably take out that for Violent Collapses. And then you take out I could see taking out 2 Beneath the Sedenas for Twilight Ambushes, or if you're satisfied with Dova's Iron Main, maybe just not take out anything. But yeah. And getting into Game 2, Ambrose does have the Ever-Gnawing Rat start, and it looks like did bring in the Bessie's Brood. Interesting. I guess maybe it's just to kill, Profane Emissaries before they become big, but seems a little dicey to me. Pip does have kind of the God Hand here. Turn 2 Profane Emissary into the potential for turn 3 Violent Collapse. Of course, it could be a little slow if the Ever-Gnawing Rat manages to outgrow. But yeah, I think if you're Plip here, you kind of just you play Wayfarer Shrine, finding like a mountain, play Profane Emissary, and then next turn you can Windmill Slam the Violent Collapse to wipe Ambrose's entire board. Actually, interestingly is that it won't actually wipe the Bessie's Brood. That is one good reason to bring in the Bessie's Brood, because it does outsize the Violent Collapse. Oh, and Plipster's actually going to play a Draconic Divulging before the Profane Emissary. That actually surprises me. Okay. Yeah, and I think you just, I think you can discard, like some lands? No, okay, it's discarding Diving Dova and Draconic Divulging. That's fine. Oh yeah, I guess that lets Plipster free cast the Dwemer Maid Dova. Always got to keep track of that Thu'um. So yeah, turn 2, 4/4 flyer, not bad. That holds down the fort, and then next turn, Plipster can play Polypools and immediately play Profane Emissary, which means that Bessie's Brood won't be able to have a window to kill it. So this is looking really, really bad for Ambrose here. Okay, looks like Ambrose did bring in the Priestess of Simplicity, but unfortunately it's not going to be very useful here. Plipster consciously getting those basics out early. So yeah, okay, it's just going to play another Lily Triton. You probably... Okay, he's going to buff up the rat and swing for... yeah, okay, and then swing for 6 here, or sorry, 5 here. Plipster is dead in 2 turns, but then I think the issue is, of course, the fact that that Ambrose's creatures are just going to die. Okay, and then plays out the Priestess of Simplicity. That's one more creature. So one more creature that is just going to get wiped here. Yeah, I like literally like there's no way for Ambrose to recover from this. It's a 4/1, and then Plipster can clean up the board with Profane Emissary and Dwemer Maid Dova. This is effectively Plipster just wins. No, play the Violent Collapse. It's worth it. It's swinging in first so that can get the extra 3 points of damage. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, now just Violent Collapse. And I wouldn't be surprised if Ambrose just concedes on the spot here, because there's basically no outs once this happens. Okay, Ambrose does have the Lone Survivor. Of course, the problem is Plipster is just like, oh, okay, that's the one thing that can outsize my Dwemer Maid Dova. Doesn't matter. Have Winged Descent. So You just play the Winged Descent, kill Lone Survivor, play Profane Emissary as a stabilizing tool. Because Winged Descent costs 1 because of all the Thu'um, it gets taxed by Lone Survivor, so you just pay 2, and then you kill the Lone Survivor. No, is playing Draconic Divulging? This is a greedy play from Plip. This is a greedy play. Wait, never mind. It comes down to the fact that Plipster has enough Thu'um that the tax doesn't matter because it cheapens it. So, yeah, was able to still just cast those for 1 mana. And yeah, with that, Ambrose concedes. There really was no good out there. Plipster's deck just kind of like, it had like the nut draw versus Ambrose, and yeah, there just wasn't much to do there. But yeah, congrats to Plipster. They made it to the grand finals of another GP with this same deck list. So it's going to be interesting to see if in the last month that Thu'um is legal, Plipster manages to pilot it to another finals finish and maybe even a GP win. But yeah, until then, this is Caillou signing off.